Hello, and of our Lives channel. Today we're diving deep into the explosive drama unfolding in Salem on Tuesday, October 28th. As long-standing grudges resurface, family dynamics shift dramatically, and several residents face life-changing crossroads that could alter their futures forever. The unresolved conflict between Theo Carver and JJ Devereaux reaches a breaking point. The tension between Theo Carver and JJ Devereaux continues to escalate in what has become one of Salem's most complicated and emotionally charged conflicts. Theo remains absolutely unwavering in his stance against JJ's return to the Salem Police Department, and his determination to hold the detective accountable shows no signs of diminishing. This Tuesday, viewers will witness Theo directly challenging JJ in a confrontation that promises to be intense and potentially career-threatening for the troubled officer. The two men eventually found their way to a fragile reconciliation. They even lived together in South Africa for a period, running a business as partners and seemingly moving past the trauma that had connected them in such a devastating way. Theo had forgiven JJ, or so everyone believed, and both men appeared to have found peace with what happened that terrible night. But Theo's recent return to Salem has revealed that the wounds from that incident never truly healed. When he discovered that JJ had rejoined the Salem Police Department without giving him any warning or even consulting him about the decision, something inside Theo broke open again. The sight of JJ wearing a badge and carrying a gun, the same type of weapon that nearly killed him, has triggered intense PTSD responses and reopened psychological wounds that Theo had suppressed rather than properly processed. What makes this situation even more complex is that Theo's resentment appears to be intensifying rather than diminishing. He initially approached Police Commissioner Jada Hunter, expressing his shock and dismay that she would rehire someone who had shot an innocent person. When Jada investigated the matter and concluded that JJ had acted within the bounds of his training, and that the shooting was ruled justified, Theo refused to accept that determination. The timing of Theo's crusade against JJ raises some intriguing questions. Tony DiMera specifically recruited Theo to return to Salem and immediately offered him a prestigious position, the details of which remain somewhat mysterious. Some speculate that Tony, or possibly even Andre DiMera posing as Tony, might be manipulating Theo's unresolved trauma to serve some larger agenda against JJ or the Salem Police Department. Given Theo's technical expertise and his new position of power as a DiMera executive, he now has resources and influence that could make him a genuine threat to JJ's career and livelihood. Theo has already taken his concerns to multiple authority figures, and each time he's been told that JJ did nothing wrong according to police procedures. But Theo's perspective is deeply personal rather than procedural. For him, this isn't about whether JJ followed protocol. It's about the fact that a police officer's snap judgment and trigger-happy response left him fighting for his life and changed his future forever. The trauma of that experience, combined with the broader context of police violence and racial profiling, has made this situation feel like an unhealed wound that continues to fester. What's particularly heartbreaking is that Theo's family history adds another layer to his pain. His uncle, also named Theo Carver, was killed by a corrupt police captain named Richard Cates 4 decades ago. Carrying the name of a family member who died at the hands of law enforcement gives Theo's current struggle an additional dimension of generational trauma and justified wariness about police misconduct. Now that personal appeals to Jada and others have failed to produce the outcome he seeks, Theo has issued what appears to be a stern challenge to JJ. The nature of this challenge remains to be seen, but the potential for Theo to use his position at DiMera Enterprises to pursue JJ professionally, perhaps finding ways to make his life difficult through business pressure or political influence, is very real. Mayor Paulina Price is Theo's stepmother, which gives him potential access to political power that could be weaponized against the police department if he chooses to go that route. For JJ, this ongoing conflict represents not just a threat to his career, but a painful reminder that some mistakes can never be fully atoned for, no matter how much time passes or how hard someone works to rebuild their life. He has spent years trying to become a better person and a better officer, but Theo's return to Salem forces him to confront the reality that the person he hurt most has not moved past what happened, and may never be able to do so. Jennifer Horton offers support and approval to Chad DiMera following Cat Green breakup. In a significant shift from her previous stance, Jennifer Horton will provide encouragement and support to her son-in-law Chad DiMera on Tuesday's episode. This change in Jennifer's attitude represents a dramatic reversal from just weeks ago, when she was deeply upset and concerned about Chad's relationship with Kat Green. The source of Jennifer's earlier disapproval was entirely understandable given the circumstances. Kat Green had perpetrated one of the most cruel deceptions imaginable. She pretended to be Chad's deceased wife Abigail, manipulating Chad's grief and hope in ways that were psychologically devastating not just for him but for the entire family. Jennifer and Jack witnessed their son-in-law being emotionally tortured by someone who wore their daughter's face and claimed to be her, only to discover it was an elaborate fraud. Even more troubling for Jennifer was the fact that Kat's brother Mark had been part of a plot to actually kill Chad. The level of danger and deception that Kat and her family brought into the DiMera household made her an absolutely unacceptable romantic prospect in Jennifer's eyes, regardless of whatever extenuating circumstances or coercion Kat might claim as justification for her actions. The situation became even more complicated when Jennifer discovered that Chad had secretly started dating Kat despite everything that had happened. To make matters worse, Chad brought Kat around his children, Jennifer's grandchildren, Thomas and Charlotte, taking her on outings like mini-golf dates that completely blindsided Jennifer when she learned about them from young Thomas. The thought of her grandchildren bonding with the woman who had impersonated their dead mother was Jennifer's worst nightmare, and she made her feelings abundantly clear to Chad. Jennifer's protective instincts went into overdrive. She and Jack began strategizing about how to keep Kat away from the children and potentially away from Chad altogether. They considered various approaches, from direct legal action seeking custody of the grandchildren to more subtle manipulations that would turn Thomas and Charlotte against Kat by revealing the full truth about her deceptions. The goal was to either remove the children from a situation Jennifer viewed as dangerous and inappropriate, or to create enough family pressure that Chad would be forced to end the relationship. The breakup between Chad and Kat came relatively recently, driven primarily by Thomas discovering the truth about Kat's impersonation of his mother. When Brady Rachel Black revealed Kat's deception during an argument, Thomas was understandably devastated and furious. The young boy confronted his father and essentially issued an ultimatum: Thomas or Kat, but not both. Faced with losing his son's trust and potentially causing long-term psychological damage to his children, Chad made the painful decision to end his relationship with Kat. Now that Kat is out of the picture, Jennifer's relief is palpable. No longer worried about her grandchildren being exposed to someone she views as dangerous and manipulative, Jennifer can return to her previous appreciation for Chad's parenting skills. She has always known that Chad is fundamentally a good father. In fact, he's consistently been portrayed as one of the best parents in Salem, especially when compared to parents like Kristen DiMera, EJ DiMera, and even Paulina Price. On Tuesday's episode, Jennifer will take the opportunity to praise Chad's parenting and offer him encouragement about his future. This support represents Jennifer's way of reinforcing the decision she believes was correct, ending things with Kat, while also helping Chad feel confident about moving forward as a single father devoted to his children's well-being. However, Jennifer's support comes with an implicit agenda. She isn't just praising Chad for being a good dad. She's also subtly encouraging him to find someone new, someone she will approve of this time. Jennifer clearly believes she has the right to weigh in on who Chad dates, particularly given how his romantic choices affect her grandchildren. Her encouragement is likely tinged with the unspoken message that Chad should consult family members before getting seriously involved with anyone else, and that any future partner needs to meet Jennifer's standards for appropriateness and safety. The commentary surrounding this storyline raises valid questions about boundaries and control. Does Jennifer actually have the right to dictate Chad's romantic life, even with the children's well-being as justification? Chad is an adult and a capable parent who has successfully raised his children through multiple tragedies and challenges. While Jennifer's protective instincts are understandable, her assumption that she gets to approve or reject Chad's partners could be seen as overstepping, particularly given that Chad's parenting has never actually been shown to be deficient. Marlena Evans provides crucial guidance to heartbroken Xander Cook. One of the most emotionally devastating storylines currently unfolding involves Xander Cook, who finds himself facing the complete collapse of his marriage to Sarah Horton. On Tuesday's episode, Xander will seek counsel from the legendary Dr. Marlena Evans as he processes the earth-shattering news that Sarah has filed for divorce. The breakdown of Xander and Sarah's relationship has been building for months, but the final breaking point came when Sarah discovered the full truth about what Xander did to Philip Kyriakis. Xander beat Philip so severely that he left him in a coma. A violent assault driven by anger over Philip's deception regarding the forged letter from Vivian Alamain that gave Philip half ownership of Titan Industries. From Xander's perspective, his actions were motivated by justifiable rage at being betrayed and manipulated. Philip had used a forged document to steal half of the company that Xander had worked to build and protect. The deception struck at everything Xander cared about: his family legacy, his business, his sense of honor and fair play. When the truth about Philip's fraud was revealed, Xander's temper got the better of him, and he responded with the kind of violence that has always been his go-to solution when he feels wronged. But for Sarah, the revelation about what Xander did to Philip crossed a line that she simply cannot uncross. She has spent years trying to help Xander become a better man, encouraging his growth and believing in his capacity for change. Time and again, she has forgiven his mistakes and given him second chances, always holding on to the hope that he could leave his violent past behind and become the kind of husband and father their family deserves. The assault on Philip shattered that hope. Sarah looked at Xander and saw not the man she had been trying to help him become, but the brutal enforcer he has always been at his core. She concluded that Xander is pure evil and incapable of the kind of transformation she has been waiting for. In the October 23rd episode, Sarah told Xander definitively that she no longer loves him and sees no romantic future for them together. The finality of Sarah's decision was driven home when she contacted Justin Kyriakis to begin divorce proceedings. That phone call represented the death of Xander's marriage and the destruction of the family life he had been fighting to build and protect. For Xander, who has so few people in his life who truly care about him, losing Sarah and potentially losing access to their daughter Victoria represents a catastrophic personal loss that strikes at his deepest vulnerabilities. Making the situation even more painful is the fact that Sarah's mother Maggie has gotten involved in a way that feels punitive and vengeful to Xander. Maggie is furious about what Xander did to Philip, who is her stepson, and she has threatened to do everything in her power to see Xander imprisoned for his assault. The confrontation between Maggie and Xander will be explosive, with Maggie vowing to make sure Xander faces criminal consequences while Xander warns her that pursuing that path will also implicate Philip in his own crimes, specifically the fraud related to the forged letter and potentially false statements to police. The complexity of the situation is that neither man is entirely innocent. Xander committed a violent assault that could have killed Philip, but Philip's initial deception set the entire chain of events in motion. The forged letter that gave Philip half of Titan was a calculated fraud that stole from Xander and his family, and Philip has continued to lie about various aspects of the situation. If Maggie pushes for criminal charges against Xander, the resulting investigation could expose Philip's misdeeds as well, creating a mutually assured destruction scenario. On Tuesday, Xander will turn to Marlena Evans for professional guidance and emotional support. Marlena has decades of experience helping people navigate the most difficult moments of their lives, and she has a particular gift for seeing past people's worst actions to the wounded humanity underneath. Xander desperately needs someone who can help him process the overwhelming grief, anger, shame, and fear that comes with losing everything he values most. Marlena will likely encourage Xander to take accountability for his actions, while also helping him understand that one terrible mistake doesn't have to define his entire future. She may guide him toward understanding Sarah's perspective, why the assault on Philip felt like such a betrayal of everything Sarah had been hoping Xander could become. At the same time, Marlena might help Xander see that proving he can change requires actually doing the hard work of change, not just promising to do better. The question of whether Sarah and Xander's marriage can ultimately be saved remains open. Soap operas have a long history of reuniting couples even after the most devastating betrayals and breakups. However, the depth of Sarah's disillusionment suggests this isn't a typical rough patch that can be smoothed over with apologies and promises. Something fundamental has broken between them, and rebuilding trust, if it's even possible, would require genuine transformation on Xander's part and a willingness on Sarah's part to believe that transformation is real. Brady Black takes Sarah Horton on a therapeutic rage room adventure. In a lighter but emotionally cathartic subplot, Brady Black will take Sarah Horton on an unusual field trip designed to help her process the intense emotions she's experiencing following her breakup with Xander. Brady's solution? A rage room, where Sarah can literally smash objects to pieces as a way of releasing all the fury, frustration, and heartbreak she's been carrying. The concept of a rage room is brilliantly simple. It's a controlled environment where people can destroy things without consequences, providing a physical outlet for emotional distress. Brady explains to Sarah that the whole point is to get out all her anger and frustrations by just starting to smash everything in sight. For someone like Sarah, who has been trying to hold herself together while her world falls apart, the permission to literally break things can be incredibly therapeutic. The promo footage for this week shows Sarah taking a bat to various objects, channeling all her rage at Xander into the satisfying destruction of inanimate targets. It's a visual metaphor for what Sarah wishes she could do to the situation. Break it apart, destroy it, reduce it to rubble, and start over. The rage room gives her that opportunity in a way that's safe and legal, allowing her to express emotions that polite society usually requires women to suppress or minimize. Brady's gesture in organizing this outing demonstrates his genuine care for Sarah's well-being. He understands that she needs more than just sympathetic words or shoulder to cry on. She needs action, catharsis, and the space to be angry without judgment. The rage room provides exactly that, and Brady's willingness to facilitate this unconventional therapy session shows his emotional intelligence and his desire to help Sarah heal. There's also an interesting undercurrent to Brady and Sarah spending this kind of quality time together. Some speculation suggests that Brady might be developing feelings for Sarah beyond friendship. After all, they've both been through similar relationship traumas. Brady with his complicated history with Kristen and other tumultuous romances. Sarah with the collapse of her marriage to Xander. They understand each other's pain in ways that create a particular kind of bond. Whether anything romantic develops between Brady and Sarah remains to be seen, but the rage room outing at minimum represents Brady being a genuinely good friend during one of the hardest periods of Sarah's life. Sometimes what people need most isn't advice or comfort, but simply someone who understands that they need to hit things with a bat for a while, and Brady is providing exactly that kind of support. DiMera delivers troubling news about Tony's mysterious disappearance. Adding to the chaos in Salem, DiMera will receive shocking and disturbing news that his brother Tony DiMera has gone missing. This development comes as a complete surprise to EJ, who had no indication that anything was wrong with Tony until he receives a frantic call from Anna informing him that her husband has vanished without a trace.